All right, we're back with another Pick'em video. It is Monday, February 10th in the NBA. We have a 10-game slate in our hands, and that is not a typo in the title of this video. 19-3 run. We've been absolutely killing it. We've been seeing the board extremely well. Definitely not trying to force anything, especially with the trade deadline and things like that. The slates haven't been amazing. I haven't loved all the matchups I've been looking into, but there are a lot of guys with potential, minutes boosts, bigger opportunities and things like that, and vice versa, smaller opportunities with trades coming in and things like that. So we're going to see that over the next few days. Obviously, you see the title and the thumbnail of this video. Luka potentially making his debut for the Lakers, so that could be interesting. Kind of a hard one to read, specifically for Luka coming back from an injury. I think if he wasn't coming back from an injury, I'd hammer his overs, but he is coming back, so I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. Might as well talk about Luka right off the bat. But yeah, we are going to go over our recap of the last video. We are going to go over the injury news. We're going to talk about any teams on a back-to-back, and then we'll get into the plays. But again, if you're new around here, or if you're not new around here, if you made some money over the last few days, definitely let me know in the comments down below. It tells YouTube to push this video out whenever you guys leave a comment, whenever you like the video, whenever you subscribe. So definitely hop on board with us. We're seeing the board extremely well. Again, regression is inevitable. I keep saying that in the last few videos. We haven't seen it just yet because 19-3 is ridiculous. But we're not going to hit at a 90% hit rate for the entire year or anything like that. So a bad day is probably incoming at some point, but we're going to ride this wave out as long as we can. And again, the routine and how I make the plays doesn't change, whether I'm on a hot streak or on a cold streak. It stays the same, and we're just attacking, value spots, edges, and things like that. So let's get into the recap, then we'll talk about the injury news, and then we'll get into the plays for today. Also, if this video gets to 400 likes, we almost got there last video. I appreciate all those. If it gets to 400 likes, I'm going to go ahead and add another play in the pinned comment down below. So I appreciate everyone liking the video, commenting, subscribing, all those good things. Let's hop into the recap. All right, so jumping into the recap of last video, didn't make a Sunday video with the Super Bowl going on. Weird game there, absolute beatdown. But also for the NBA slate, there was only 3 games and they were much earlier on in the day. We did attack a few plays in the Discord that cashed for us, which was nice. But for the video picks, we're talking about, I think, Saturday's picks. So we talked about 4 plays. 3 of them hit. We'll take a 75% hit rate any day of the week. Again, this run kind of continues. We'll talk about De'Aaron Fox first. Just didn't get there. Wasn't even shooting very well. Didn't shoot well the entire game. Didn't shoot the volume to get there. Maybe a bad read overall. Wasn't a whole lot of data points to look at with him on the Spurs. We did get to see, obviously, De'Aaron Fox can score this on any given night. But yeah, it had a good matchup, and I'm not worried about that read. Just kind of a difficult one to go to with the new team and things like that. Maybe wait a little bit on some of these guys. But Steph Curry over 4.5 threes. Cash with ease. He had 8 3-pointers in that game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 5.5 assists. He had 8 assists in there, so 5.5 assists, I would say. 8 assists in that one, so that was an easy cash. And then Derrick White over 14.5 points. Came a little bit later. The Celtics absolutely destroyed the Knicks. I think he ended with 17 points, but he got hot in like the third quarter and went over here for us. So again, 3 kind of no sweat cashes. De'Aaron Fox was the one bummer of the night, but we'll take a 75% hit rate all day, every day. And again, so we're just going to keep this going as much as we can. Pretty good recap. Let's talk about some injury news, some lineup news, and then we'll get into the plays. All right, so first of all, teams on a back-to-back. There's only 2 teams on a back-to-back. It's going to be the Charlotte Hornets and the Milwaukee Bucks. We are going to talk about at least one Milwaukee Buck in this one, but the back-to-back doesn't worry me too much, especially with the other injury news that's happening there. So Hornets and Bucks, those are the only teams on back-to-backs. So let's move into the lineup news here for Minnesota. It's going to be a hard game to get to early on. It's a 9-point spread in favor of Cleveland. I'll start with the Minnesota side. Mike Conley, game-time decision. Anthony Edwards, game-time decision. Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle still out for this team. Hard game to cap with that injury news at this point in the day, so I kind of avoided them for Cleveland. They're more healthy, but we're also going to see DeAndre Hunter come into this game. If Anthony Edwards is ruled out, this team looks a whole lot different. If this turns into a blowout, Cleveland's at home, and now they get, DeAndre Hunter there. I don't know how that rotation is going to look like. They might be feeding him a little bit. You don't know how many minutes he's going to get. Is that going to hurt Garland? Is that going to hurt Mitchell? It's a hard one to cap here, so just keep that in mind. DeAndre Hunter is going to be making his debut for Cleveland, so if you're seeing, really good lines for guys like Donovan Mitchell, for guys like Darius Garland, that might be affected a little bit with Hunter coming in, who's averaging like 18 points a game or something like that. I was looking at Garland for his points. He's been very consistent and scored pretty well against Minnesota. I probably won't go too much into it, maybe more. I don't even know if it's a lean, but just something I was thinking about. But let's move along here. Atlanta and Orlando. Trae Young is going to be a probable tag. Not other injury news there, so they're relatively healthy. Obviously, Jalen Johnson still out, so he's not even listed here, but he's out for the season. Keep that in mind if you don't know that. For Orlando, Jalen Suggs is going to be a doubtful tag. He hasn't played in a while. Paolo Banchero, going to be potentially someone we talk about. His scoring has not been good. I think his line's at 22.5, and he's got a great matchup here, so someone I wanted to point out later maybe in the video as a lean. For San Antonio, relatively healthy here. For Washington, a bunch of injury news. Obviously, Chris Middleton, Sarr still out, but Chris Middleton, Smart, main guys going to coming in for trades. They're not going to be making their debuts until after the All-Star break, so just keep that in mind. A lot of Coulibaly, a lot of Jordan Poole, a lot of George, and Richaun Holmes is now the starting center. For Boston, this is going to be a game that we talk about in this one. Jaylen Brown and Tatum, both game time decisions in this one. Torrey Craig's still out. Drew Holiday's also going to continue to be out, so definitely some injuries for the Celtics. We're going to be definitely talking about someone on that team. Miami, we got pretty much no injuries, but again, just want to point this out for anyone that's not really in tune with the NBA. Andrew Wiggins is going to be starting here, most likely. Not on the injury report right now, and obviously Jimmy Butler now in on the Warriors, so just keep that in mind. Team might look a little bit different here going up against Boston. For Charlotte, a bunch of injury news. Nurkic, I don't know if he's going to play, if he's going to start, how many minutes he's going to get. Tough one there. Mark Williams, also, I forgot to mention this. Mark Williams is now back on this team. He's doubtful because the trade got rescinded. Unclear moving forward for his status, but that's obviously an awkward situation. You go and trade a guy, and then they're like, actually, no, this trade's not going to go through. So that's an awkward moment if I can find the same thing. So that's a weird one. So just keep that in mind. A lot of Charlotte Hornets injuries. I really just brushed over that team as of right now. I don't know who's playing. It's a difficult one to cap. For Brooklyn, kind of similar scenario here, just because Charlotte, we don't know who's going to play. But for the injury news on this team, Cam Thomas, Bogdanovich, Clowney, we've seen these guys out a lot. D'Lo's also game time decision. I'm going really slow through this. Let's try to speed this up. For the Warriors, Steph Curry is going to be game time decision. I kind of expect him to play. Milwaukee, they are one of those teams on a back-to-back. Giannis is out of this game, so big news there. No Giannis for the Bucks. He's going to be out till after the All-Star break. For the Pelicans, Olynyk, new trade acquisition. Looks like he's going to be out. Bruce Brown, Herb Jones, they're going to be out, but otherwise relatively healthy. Going up against OKC, I'll mention the fact that Chet Holmgren has been starting at power forward, or I guess did start at power forward the one game he came back. Sat the back-to-back on the back end of it, but should be ready to go on this one against the Pelicans. Case and Wallace, a couple guys on the bench. Isaiah Joe going to be out for this one. For Sacramento, no injuries. For Dallas, AD already injured in that Luka trade. Max Christie could be a guy you look at, but he's game time decision. I really like one of his lines that I might mention in this video. PJ Washington, Dante Exum, also game time decision. So a lot of injury news there, but the main one, Anthony Davis, already hurt his groin. He's going to be out indefinitely at this point. So that Luka trade looking worse and worse by the day. Derek Lively still out this one as well. Moving on to Portland, Jeremy Grant game time decision, Rob Williams game time decision, Chris Murray, Matisse Thybulle still out for them. For Denver, a lot of game time decision tags. Michael Porter Jr., kind of the biggest one because he's been absolutely on fire. He's been scoring like 30 plus points a night pretty much since Westbrook got out. So just keep that in mind. Westbrook, Peyton Watson still out for this team. Utah, relatively healthy, but Colin Sexton's going to be out. KJ Martin. And then for the Lakers, they get Dalton Connect back. You'll see him right here. He's going to be a game time decision. LeBron, Luka, Reeves, all game time decisions. I kind of expect all of them to make their debut here. But yeah, that's the injury news. There was a lot, but hopefully you guys got something from that. I don't never want you guys going to blind, not knowing what's happening, especially with all this injury stuff. Especially like that Mark Williams thing, the trade getting rescinded. That's something that's weird. You might think that Mark Williams is playing on that team, but then all of a sudden, he's back on the Hornets. It's just kind of a weird situation. So that's the injury news. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. I know a lot of you probably skipped this part, but for the people that watch, there you go. All right, so let's jump into actually making some plays here. First of all, I'm going to be using a tool called Props Madness. If you're watching this video, you're like, I need to check that tool out. Use my link in the description down below. You're going to get a free week to check it out, try it out, see how you like it. And then if you use code RICH when signing up, you get that free week, but also you get 25% off your first month or your first year. So do that however you want. But again, when you use my link in the description down below, it just tells them that I sent you there, and you're going to see the value of it in this video. So let's start off with our first play. It's going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, probably the least popular play I'm going to give out today because I'm taking his under points, 32.5. Obviously, that's extremely high for anyone, but Shai's a guy that's just been absolutely dominating. Some crazy scoring games, 54 here, 52 here, 50 here. He's just been absolutely going crazy. And he has a decent matchup, but not the best matchup in the world. You see a lot of points in the paint from a guy like him, 35% of his points come in the paint. But I'm just going to kind of break this down step by step, and I think you're going to see how I kind of got to this. So first of all, Chet Holmgren is going to be active in this game. He's probably going to see 25 minutes. That's the projection for him right now. He had 22 in his return, sat the back-to-back, so he should be rested. Probably going to see 25, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less depending on the game. But games with Chet Holmgren in the lineup, regardless of how many minutes he's playing, he is under, oops, wrong. There we go. That looks better. In games that Chet Holmgren was playing, 9% of games he's gone over this. 10 of 11 games he stayed under. You can see his shots just aren't, as much as it is when he has the full offensive load on him. Obviously, him and J-Dub. But with Chet in the lineup, that alleviates some of the pressure off him. Chet's going to get a few shots in there as well. And they want to start, getting him back in the rotation, getting him back up to speed. They're not going to be running him 25 minutes and not having him do anything. He's going to get his touches when he's in there. So 10 of 11 games he stayed under this with Chet. Obviously, that looks good right off the bat. Now, that's not the only reason I'm going to this, obviously, but that's the first data point I wanted to look at. The next thing I'll look at is something that I think will scare a decent amount of people, and it's the fact that this Pelicans defense is ranked 29th in terms of restricted area defense. Shai gets his shots kind of from everywhere, but 35, the most percent of his shots, come from in that restricted area. So is this going to be a situation where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is just going to be able to eat them down low alive, Yves Missi, Zion down there, whatever it might be? I don't think so, just because based on the hit rate with these weak interior defenses, I think that just gives more opportunities for guys like Chet, Hartenstein, J-Dub going to the hoop. I think a lot of players go to the hoop on this Thunder team, and I think the scoring spreads out a little bit more. And we're going to see that in the hit rate. So going to teams that allow a whole bunch of points in the restricted area, that's what I'm looking at right now. Again, they're ranked 29th. Just going to the bottom 20 teams. So again, these are bad defenses or restricted area. This hit rate turns into a 27% hit rate. He's only gone over this in 5 games. So that something that might not look great for an under actually looks pretty good when you look at the teams that are weak in terms of that restricted area defense. So that's going to be another plus for us. Next up, I want to talk about the spread of this game. 15.5 point spread. Obviously, the Pelicans are kind of hit and miss. They're dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. They just did trade Brandon Ingram after he's been injured the entire year. DeJounte Murray's still injured the entire year. With Zion, he's been able to keep teams in games here, but this is a 15.5 point spread for a reason. And we can actually see games that they've won by a certain amount of points and see how Shai's done in those games. Games they've won by 10 plus. He's only over this in 35% of games for the entire year. Games they've won by 15 plus, which is the spread of this game, 34% of games. And then going to games with Chet still active in this one, he's only over in that one game where he had 35 against the Hawks, which was a perfect matchup for him. Now, in terms of his matchup here, other than the restricted area defense being weak, pick and roll ball handling, they're ranked 8th. Free throws, they're ranked 11th. Maybe he doesn't get to the free throw line 100 times like he does in a lot of these games. Isolation, they're ranked 12th. Sure, transition, 29th, but that goes hand in hand kind of with the restricted area defense. That could be where the way they kill us if they're just running, transition and he's getting a bunch of dunks in transition. But obviously Shai has the capabilities of going over this. We're just trying to decide, is it more likely he goes over or more likely he goes under? And I think I'm sticking with the under here, just with all those things starting to pile up. And then the last thing I'll point out here, which maybe I should have started with, he's already played this team twice so far this year. I think Chet was active in at least one of out in at least one of those. He was out in both of those. So that obviously sees a boost in scoring with Chet out. Now Chet's back in. He already stayed under in both the games against the Pelicans. I think we're looking like we're in a good spot here. And going back to that transition defense and the defense in the interior, with those defenses weak in those areas, the Thunder tend to blow out teams more, which is why I think Shai gets a little less minutes, or why he's more passive, doesn't need to really put the team on his back and score the ball a whole bunch. So again, Shai can go over this any day of the week, but again, I think it's more likely he's staying under here against the Pelicans. And then just an FYI, if Shai goes crazy in that first quarter, don't already, pre-comment that I'm the worst, guy on YouTube and my picks suck, because he sometimes goes crazy in the first quarter and then slows down a little bit like later in the game. So just want to point that out. Potentially still goes under even if he has a massive first quarter. But let's get into the next play here. It's going to be Bobby Portis over 28.5. There's like one book that has this 29.5. Most books at 28.5, and I'm taking the over his points, rebounds, and assists. I almost just went to his points, to be totally honest, but I landed on his points, rebounds, and assists. I think he's going to, crush this line if this one stays close, if you can shoot better than like 30%, and I think he's going to get a whole bunch of minutes. He's projected for 34 minutes. The big thing here is no Giannis in this one. I'll start with the minutes here. If he's going to get 30-plus minutes, you'll see the hit rate. I think you're going to like it. 90% of games he's gone over this. A lot of them absolutely crushing. The one game he missed was against the Chicago Bulls. And guess what he shot? 29%, 5 of 17 shooting. Did chip him with 9 rebounds and 4 assists. That was an easy matchup for him. But, obviously if he shoots 29%, it's going to be harder to get here. A lot of these other games, absolutely crushing it. A lot of weaker, matchups in terms of defense. The Hawks here, the Hornets, The Pacers are a little bit better defensively. A lot of weak matchups, I will say, but he did get it against the Magic. He had 36 PRA, and he also got it against the Cavs where he had 40 PRA. Now, this matchup isn't as hard as those two. It's actually not horrible when you look at how he shoots the ball. Couple, 28% in the restricted area. They lock that down pretty well, but he can get a lot in the mid-range, 23, 17. That's 40% of his shots in the non-restricted area, paint, and then the mid-range area. Obviously, can knock down some threes. And then if you look at how he scores the ball, they're not like completely locked down here on any of these. Obviously, Jimmy Butler coming to the Warriors looks a little bit different, so we got to see how the numbers adjust there. But I looked at the game yesterday, or not yesterday, 2 days ago when they played the Chicago Bulls, and Buzelis had 16, 4, and 5, and Jalen Smith had 15 points. So kind of the best comparison guys on the Bulls played pretty well against this team. So I think Portis in a great matchup here to go over 28.5. Games without Giannis too. I'll just keep that in mind. Even if he doesn't play a whole bunch of time, even just without Giannis, you can see this is obviously over in a lot of these games. One of these games he missed, he had 18 minutes. That other game was against the Chicago Bulls, but it's more than minutes here. If Giannis is going to be out, if he's going to get 34 minutes like his projection stays, if this one stays close, it's a 6-point spread as of right now. The Bucks aren't a back-to-back, so keep that in mind. But I think if it stays close, he gets 30 to 34 minutes, maybe even more. He should be able to crush this line against this Warriors team. Now, the back-to-back I did just mention, I do like to point out every kind of data point I can point to. And his back-to-back doesn't look amazing for the entire year in terms of the games he's played. But the one game he played without Giannis right here, it was a back-to-back, and that was that game against the Wizards where he had 52. So doesn't play very well in the back-to-back sets, but without Giannis, he's going to get the time, 32 minutes in that back-to-back set, and he was able to crush it against the Wizards here. So similar kind of situation. Obviously, the Wizards are horrible defensively. This Warriors team kind of still figuring things out. The bigger forwards on the Bulls were able to figure things out against that new defense down in Golden State. Up in Golden State, wherever you want to say Golden State is. But yeah, I'm liking Bobby Portis over his 20.5 PRA. And then if anyone wants to mention Kyle Kuzma being a new addition to this team, if you go ahead and look at, first of all, he played this game already against the Sixers. He had 36 PRA. But if you take out Giannis and you put in Chris Middleton, similar to Kyle Kuzma, they just got traded for each other. He's still over this in 3 of the 4 games. That one game where he just missed was that 29% shooting game against the Bulls. So even though Kuzma's coming in here, he's obviously going to get a few shots. He can be a chuck at some points. I'm still liking this one. All right, moving into the next play here. It's going to be Derrick White, a guy that we went to the other day, and we had a pretty good read on him. There's going to be a bunch of different reasons I like Derrick White in this one, but first of all, I think he's starting to heat back up. I talked about this in the last video. He really just went cold. He wasn't shooting a whole bunch. He wasn't shooting well. His minutes actually dropped off. You see 21 minutes in this game, 30 here, 31, but some of these games, 27 minutes. He just wasn't shooting well. He was in a funk. I think he might have been injured or something like that, and we saw his line start really, really dropping. This, PRA line, points line, PRA was definitely at some point like 26, 27 and a half, 28 and a half. Now we're down to 23 and a half. I think we're getting a discount here, especially considering the injury news that could be coming for this team. So we'll start off with that. The injury news is Tatum, Brown, both game time decisions, not probable, both true game time decisions. Now, I expect them to play, but if one of them sits, I don't think they're both going to sit. I assume they're both going to play, but one of them could sit, and I'll point that off right off the bat. So this is a 23.5 PRA line. I'm looking at the over for Derrick White. We'll talk about his matchup in a second, but just based off the injury news, without Tatum, he's over in all 3 games. That was against Detroit, really good defense, twice. And I was also against the Magic. So really, really good defenses. He's got over this in the 3 games that Tatum's missed. Okay, if Tatum plays, let's see if Jaylen Brown sits. He's over this in 83% of games without Jaylen Brown. The one game he missed on the hook against the Brooklyn Nets. So that's also a really good data point. So in terms of the injuries, if one of the Jays does sit, huge boost for a guy like Derrick White. Now, Drew Holiday is already ruled out for this one. So that would be Drew out and one of these guys if they end up sitting. But even if they both play, Drew's going to be out of this one. So without Drew, he's over this in 66% of games. I want to point this out. Last year, that's not the best data point to look at. I think he's better this year than he was last year, which is kind of a crazy thing to say. He, again, slowed down a little bit, and I think he got shoved under the rug back to an underrated player. But last year, without Drew Holiday, he was over this in 9 of 10 games, absolutely crushing this in a lot of these games. And if you look at his hit rate for this year, just with Drew Holiday in the lineup, with anyone in the lineup, he's over this PRA line this year, 64% of games. Last year he was over in, that includes the playoffs too. So last year he was over in only there's a lot of games, 56% of games. You look at regular season, 54% of games. So long-winded way of saying he's over this more this year than last year. And without Drew Holiday last year, he was way over this line in 9 out of 10 games. So without Drew, I think this is a bigger thing than what's shown in the data so far this year. And then considering the fact that we might not see one of Tatum or Brown, huge boost for him. So this is definitely a minutes type of play rather than like a matchup based play. But with that injury potential, Derrick White does get a huge boost with Drew Holiday being out and then potentially some of those other guys being out. And he's projected for 34 minutes in this matchup. I will mention the matchup in a second here, but 30 plus minutes, again, projected for 34. He'll probably see 30 plus, barring any crazy foul trouble or anything like that. He's over this in 73% of games when he's seeing that much time. And then also, I talk about Derrick White being an away type player all the time. He seems to step up more consistently on the road. Maybe, some other guys shrink under the pressure or something on the road a little bit more. Probably reading into like a storyline there, but he plays better on the road is what I'm trying to say. 81.3% of games he's gone over this PRA line when he's playing 30 plus minutes on the road. Then let's take a look at his matchup here. 24th ranked in terms of spot up. That's where he's getting most of his offense. So I definitely don't hate the matchup here. And then looking at the history against this team, he did score 33, not 33. He had 33 PRA against this team earlier on in the year. This was back in December. He had 19 points, chipped in with 6 rebounds, had 8 assists. So he was able to really crush this line. That was a game without Porzingis and Drew Holiday and Hal Horford. So again, those injuries piling up, he definitely gets a boost. But even dating back to last year, this is a team he played pretty well against over this PRA line in 75% of those games. A couple of those were playoff games, you got to mention, but even in the regular season, played pretty well against this team. Looks like over in 2 of 3 or 3 of 4 matchups. So really liking Derrick White against the Miami Heat. They got some bad blood. There's some injury news. He's in a good spot to take his over for 23.5. I still think we're getting a discount on this line because of that little rut he had a few weeks ago, but I think he's getting back on track. Then moving along to the next play here, it's going to be Bilal Coulibaly, a guy that we've talked about, I think, in a few videos in a row, 2 videos in a row. Now, we've been going to his rebounds and assists. I think we caught it at 8.5. Now it's up to 9.5, and I think that's still a pretty solid play here. But he's going up against a matchup that I don't mind for him in terms of scoring. He does a lot of his damage in the paint. 44% of his shots come in the paint. Transition also comes at 26% of his points. They're ranked 19th here. Above the break threes, he shoots 23% of his shots there. They're ranked 25th. And then similar players to him have gone over their scoring lines pretty consistently. That's Neesmith, Dosunmu, Brooks. I don't really like the Brooks comparison here, but even so, he went over in 2 of the 3 games there. So similar players. He's got a pretty good matchup, and now he's been scoring the ball a whole lot. I'm just going to go to his PRA because this is a game without Kyle Kuzma. This is why we've been attacking him. Games without Kyle Kuzma this year, he's over in 63% of games. Now, why am I going to the PRA? Well, it's because he's been scoring a lot more recently. His attempts are up. If you want to go to field goals attempted, he's actually averaging 12.8 field goals attempted per game without Kyle Kuzma in the lineup, and you can see it kind of skyrocketing the last few games. Shot 20 times against the Hawks, had 17 points. Didn't shoot very efficiently, but still had 20 attempts. This one he had 12, 9 only there, but then 17, 16, 14, 13, 20, 18, 13. So all this green recently, ever since like December 8th, he's been shooting a whole bunch of times without Kuzma in the lineup. Now Kuzma's not even on the team, so I'm really liking the spot for Bilal to score the ball. Without Kuzma in the lineup, he also assists the ball extremely well. We went to this one time. I think we went to his 3.5 assists one time, and then we went to his, I don't really remember. We've been going to him a lot. I think the books are going to catch up eventually, but I don't think they've caught up fully yet. He's been rebounding extremely well without Kuzma in the lineup. Really just gets a whole bunch of usage. He gets a whole bunch of time. He's projected for 33 minutes in this game. It is an 11.5 spread, but even in blowouts, he's been able to do this. You can see games they've lost by 10 plus points or even more for the PRA. He's still over in 44% of games. So yes, this could be like a blowout situation. If they lose by 10 plus though, he's still getting the time on the floor, 35, 42, 35. They're in full rebuild mode, and Bilal's kind of like one of their main priorities. Without Kuzma now here, with all the injuries to Chris Middleton, to Marcus Smart, they're not going to play. So should be a whole bunch of time for Bilal, and he's been able to capitalize on that. So I'm liking this one. It's, again, more of a minutes play than a matchup play, but I don't hate the matchup for him. Now, he did play these guys early in the year. He had 17 PRA in that one, but he only shot 5 times. I don't expect him to do that again. He also rebounded extremely well in that matchup. This is kind of another reason why I'm going to the PRA. He didn't assist well, but he assists very consistently well without Kuzma. He didn't score well, but he only shot 5 times. Now we're seeing 15 or something like that, 13 to 15 field goal attempts, sometimes 20, like we saw last game. And then for the rebounding, he rebounded extremely well against this team. And then again, without Kuzma, you saw the chart of him rebounding very consistently without him in the lineup. So I'll show the without Kuzma lineup one more time. The PRA, that's the one I'm going to, 63% hit rate. You could look at the rebounds, you could look at the assists, you look at the points. I think you really can't go wrong with him today. I'll probably be playing him maybe all separately, to be honest, but I do like the PRA for like the video pick here because I think he can chip in on all fronts. So Bilal over 24.5 PRA, that's how I'm rolling with it. And then to be totally honest, I am back and forth about his 9.5 rebounds and assists or his 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I'm not exactly sure how I want to play this just yet, but I don't know. You could kind of decide. They have similar hit rates. He didn't score very well against this Spurs team last time, but again, he only shot 5 times. That was a game Kuzma did play, and we've been seeing him shoot the ball a ton recently, especially without Kuzma in the lineup. So I think I'm landing on PRA, but if you go to the rebounds and assists, I don't mind that at all either. So I think that's going to do it for this one. I do have one more play that I really wanted to show you guys in this video. It's actually a guy we went to the other day, but really liking his matchup again. But I'm at 26 minutes in this video. I want to keep some plays for the Discord only. I do have a whole bunch of leans that I already put in there, and I'm going to make my DFS slips and probably look at the board again tomorrow when we have more action or more knowledge of the matchups and things. So I'll have more plays in there as well. So if you want access to all my plays, all my slips and things like that, definitely check out the links down below. You can sign up using the DubClub link, then just link your DubClub account to your Discord account. That's how you get access there. But also plenty of different ways to get in for free, signing up for my code on PrizePicks, Betr, Sleeper, Underdog, any of the ones listed down below. They all give you perks in signing up. I think I have all the perks listed, whether it's a deposit match, free squares, whatever it might be. It's awesome to get on multiple different platforms. And again, we attack different DFS sites each and every day in the Discord. It's also a community, so it's not just my slips. You do get access to a fun community, like-minded people. There's not people crying for money and things like that. It's very more of a tight-knit community, people that understand how sports betting works, and bouncing ideas off each other, having a whole lot of laughs for sure. And obviously, had a whole lot of success in terms of winning. And it's not just my plays. People share their own slips. I got some seasoned chefs in there that I've kind of marked as people that I know they know what they're doing. They share slips all the time. And of course, you can share your own ideas, ask questions and things like that. So it's a whole lot of fun. Again, it's very cheap in terms of the industry standards here. It's only $20 a month. And again, plenty of different ways to get in for free. And you can just keep getting free months. I think there's like 7 potential free months you can get. So you can really just check us out and see if we are worth it. But I think we are, if again, even just the community aspect, obviously you get access to my slips, which I think why people are going to be joining. But the community aspect is fun too. Just having people, a group that you can talk and bounce ideas off of each other, have a lot of laughs. Even when a guy's not playing well, just rip him in the comments or in the chat, whatever it might be. So that's going to do it for us. If this video gets to 400 likes, I'll add that extra play. We almost got to 400 likes last time, which was crazy. Thanks for all the comments and things like that. I do appreciate that. So if this gets to 400 likes, I'll go ahead and add that other play that I wanted to talk about in the pinned comment down below. So that'll close it out. Probably approaching 30 minutes now. I gotta go to bed. You can probably see it in my eyes. They're getting glossy. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Good luck with all your bets. Peace out.